Broadcasting from Baltimore, Maryland, this is 5x3 Radio, where strength is for everyone. I'm your host, Emily Sokolinski, owner of 5x3 Training, a strength and conditioning gym in Baltimore, along with my co-host, Rebecca Fishburne, founder of Cornerstone Strength Maryland. Each week, Rebecca and I will discuss the ins and outs of strength training, why there is a no one-size-fits-all approach, and why strength is so important in our daily lives. Thanks for spending some time with us today. Now, on with the show. So I wasn't sure, we didn't really talk about a topic for this one. I know we talked about the protein thing, but I don't think either one of us really has done anything with that. So forget that one. What I sent you was your comment to me after you read that one, that I sent you that article about Squat University. Bottom line in that explanation, I think it's you, is insecurity and scarcity thinking, people thinking they don't have enough, can't lift enough, just plain aren't enough. So I wonder if we talk about like this a little bit of, it's a little psychology, right? It's a little bit of like, you know, what are we doing?
What was this? I forget what the Squat University thing was.
It was an old article. I'm looking in my text messages. It's an old article, and it was, do you enjoy your workouts? And it wasn't the whole article. It was just, a snapshot of like, I guess the beginning of it. But basically, you know, are you happy with doing what you're doing? Like, if you're not, why? Why aren't you happy? And, you know, why there's always this thinking of grass is greener on the other side. I think that's what we always think. Like, that person's got it made. If I were just that person, if I could do just that, I would be happier. And then we always find out, we get to that place and we're like, I'm still not happy. So we kind of keep moving that goalpost, right? One of my members yesterday was talking about a friend of his who is a psychologist and has a thinking of like, you know, reality and what you want to be kind of thing. You know, he thinks in terms of most people people can't see my hands, only Rebecca. I don't know if this is going to be in there or not, but I kind of like just talking randomly.
Wait, you like talking with your hands?
I like talking with my hands. So imagine my hands. Imagine my hands really far apart, and one is like what you think you're like, what you imagine your life, you know, you want your life to be, and then what is reality. And for most people, they're pretty far apart, right? And we have to figure out, what do we do? Do we just decide that, you know what, I'm happy with who I am and bring that reality in? Or do we try to keep pushing that envelope? Like, but if I just could get to that number, if I could just be 10 pounds lighter, if I could just be, you know, whatever that is. And then there's reality, which is life, kids, work, sickness, family, whatever it is, you know, that kind of comes in. And then there's that kind of acceptance. Do we want to accept who we are, or are there things that we can make changes, you know, in our lives that are reasonable changes? And then what is like not so reasonable? Like for me, a 315-pound deadlift, not reasonable. My deadlift sucks unless I really want to focus on it. I'm just not going to reach that 315. That's okay. I've lived my life long enough. I'm 47 years old now. I don't care. You know, I can go up and pick up the rack from Bo and Angie's, this heavy, you know, rack for the meet on Sunday. And Bo puts it in the car, but I had to take it out of the car and get it into my gym. It's awkward. It's heavy, and I could do it on my own. So, you know, I think it's pretty good. the once a year that I do that. So that's I feel like it's something that my client brings up a lot himself. So I know that it's something that people think about, maybe not everybody, but people who are invested in this type of training. So I'm wondering if that's, you know, something we want to talk about, the idea of like, is it about moving that goalpost? Is that goalpost, should we keep moving it, or should it really have an end? And then we just decide to have another goal. And instead of just kind of like keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that. I think it's something to, you know, maybe talk about, discuss in our own training.
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of there's nothing wrong with continuing to move the goalpost and keep pushing towards something, or keep pushing towards, like a heavier lift or a new PR or whatever, as long as you're keeping it within the range of reasonable.
Right.
If you're not keeping it within the range of reasonable for you,
right.
what ends up happening is and this is where it circles back to where this all started with, what was it? Are you happy with your workout?
Do you enjoy your workout?
Do you enjoy your workout, right? Like if you are able to keep moving the goalpost and keep pushing for PRs, and you're in a healthy frame of mind about it, then keep doing it, then keep going. But there's so many factors that could contribute to an unhealthy state of mind about continuing to try to push the goalposts, right? So if you're trying to push the goalposts, but you're banging your head against the wall because you've already hit your genetic ceiling and it's just not in the cards for you. You're not going to be able to, or life stress is too much and you don't have the time to dedicate to recovery or nutrition or training or any of those pieces, then you're going to be miserable. If you're, even I think, and this is sort of what we were getting at before, even if you are able to do those things, but you're not content or you're not satisfied when you reach that goal.
Right.
Like if it gets twisted up into something in your head where you can't achieve the PR, celebrate the PR, be happy about it, and then move on, if it's always comparing to what somebody else is doing and feeling as though you measure up short or inadequate or insufficient, well, then that's still not a healthy place that's not a healthy mindset. That's not a good place to be. That's not going to be, I laugh when you read that bit about, are you enjoying your workout? There's plenty of times I don't. So it's sort of, and we've talked about this before. There's a lot of people who have their eyes on the bigger picture, on the, I want to feel better in my real life, and this is the medicine that I have to take. But there's so much around that is your mindset when you go in or come out of the gym. Or while you're there, that can make it not even really enjoyable, but somehow damaging.
Yeah.
Psychically damaging.
And it's hard for me. It's I always say to Diego, it's hard for me to get in people's shoes who don't exercise, right? We talked about this before. I don't understand the idea of not going to the gym, not doing something physical, maybe something with the gym, but just not doing something physical, not going for a walk. Not taking a dance class, not trying in martial arts. I mean, I've always moved. I've been moving since I was 2 years old. So for me, it's there.
I think you were moving before that, but
True. But I was bopping up and down, to the music outside of my parents had their record player inside of a trunk, and I would stand on the outside holding on to the trunk and just kind of trying to move to the music. Because my mom was like, I should put her in a dance class. So I have a hard time understanding people who just don't enjoy moving, don't enjoy exercise, no matter what that movement is.
You've never had a lazy day?
I've never had a lazy day.
I have lazy days, and I can extrapolate from there.
And I mean,
I think at a certain point it would be not something that I could live with, but I can definitely I did a lot of knitting on Sunday. I had no place to go. And Diego's like, you're not going to the gym? I said, I'm not. I'm going to do my train session on Monday because we're preparing for the meet on Sunday. So they're really short. I'm just doing singles. So I was I could do that on Monday. So it was kind of this nice feeling of just relaxing. But it was more just I don't need to go anywhere. I've changed my training day. If I had it, I would have gone to the gym on Sunday. So it wasn't so much a lazy day as it wasn't my scheduled day. I changed my scheduled day to another day. So have there been workouts that have left me frustrated? Yes. Last week I came home and I snapped at Diego or something, and he was like, "Whoa!" What? And then I told him later. I said, "I'm sorry. It was my squat workout. I was frustrated with my squats, and I took it out on him." So it was more of just frustration on my end that I knew what I'd done wrong. How am I going to frickin' fix this? And I ended up fixing it, the next squat session. I knew what I was doing, and it wasn't working. So I adjusted it, but I did snap at him. But I've never had, the past 10 years, really, or maybe not 10 years, maybe, 8 years. I was crying still. But when I first started doing this, I definitely had tears of days I cried when things didn't go my way. But I've adjusted my thinking about what I'm doing in regards to my own training. And I think it's because I've started training a lot more older clients. So I see it as really just this, I go to the gym because I want to build a better life for myself as I get older. I see them being active, and I want to be as active as they are and enjoying life to the fullest. And so that means...
like what you're describing is like you've gained a different perspective,
absolutely.
Right? Like a longer term perspective. And like a lot of times people are just caught up in the moment, like whatever they're.
Yeah. And I have to kind of keep reminding some of my clients that why are you here? What is, I know the purpose for why I'm here. It's aesthetics aside. I always say that aesthetics aside, it's not so much, sure. I mean, we all want to look our best. We want to feel our best, but I want my body to be as strong and as capable as possible. For me, just for my daily living, so that as I continue to age, I age well. I age well. I'm not talking plastic surgery. Diego's not against plastic surgery, he said himself. But it's just more of, I know what strength training can do for my body. I know what it has done for my body. I see what it's done for my clients, as far as my older clients, and they look better and better every time they walk into the gym. Right? They physically move better. They physically just look better. They're talking about all the activities that they're doing. So there's this feeling of like, this is part of their lifestyle. This is not going to ever not. You can see it. It's like they moan and groan about it. Like, oh yeah, I can't wait to get out of here. But they still show up.
Right.
They still show up. So no one doesn't not enjoy their workouts. Do they wish they could get the benefit of it without having to squat a heavy? Oh, sure. I'm sure they would. But they know that they put the work into it. They're receiving so much on the other end. So most people, and I mean, I see people, it's always with smiles on their faces, or at least just like, even the people who don't smile a lot, there's still this kind of this like feeling of like, I did that weight. Like I'm feeling good. I've got that. I've got this today. And then there are others who are just constantly like, beaming the entire time that they're training. So I haven't experienced anybody who's hated what they're doing. And I know that for me personally, I've never hated my own workouts. I've been frustrated, but I haven't hated going because I don't have to drag myself, so I see that, my clients, none of them hate what they do. They don't, no one's ever talked to me about comparing themselves to other people. And I think that's just something that's just the atmosphere of the gym too, that we create. Everyone applauds people's gains. People applaud their PRs. There's like this whole feeling of like, we're all here doing the same thing, trying to do the same thing. And we're all going to be there for each other. It doesn't matter what that person did or what that person is doing. We're all here trying to do the same thing, just get stronger.
Yeah, that's a matter of understanding that, like, I mean, it's like everybody there at the gym is in competition with each other.
Exactly.
As opposed to against each other. They're competing with each other against like their best self or what their previous PR was, or what is the best that they can do, as opposed to, trying to show somebody else up.
Right. And there's, it's a lot of commercial gyms. Everybody has their headphones on. No one's really there for each other. They're by themselves doing their own thing. Yeah. And then I imagine there are other places where there is maybe a little bit more cliques, where there are people who kind of are gravitated towards one area of the room and they're, egging each other on, and other people kind of feel left out. We have people who talk more than others, but everyone's always just kind of like milling around, talking to everybody, kind of just focused on what they need to do. And so when I have people who do come to me, and they're very few, and I think it's definitely a personality trait. those who really want to push themselves and get frustrated when they can't do X due to whatever limitation it is, age, I want a bigger bench, but my arms are 20 feet long. Well, we can't cut your arms in half. I know I have very few people who really feel let down by what their bodies are. Does that make sense? If I had only been born with a longer torso and shorter femurs, and I could squat better. Well, yeah, sure. But you weren't. So you got to deal with what you have to deal with, and you make the most of it. I think some people have a hard time, kind of reconciling.
So you're talking about people who are a little bit more competitive. I think, there's not to say that there aren't people at 5x3 who are working hard and trying to push for PRs and competing in various events or whatever, but that's maybe not,
right.
That's not the culture of the gym. It's not a gym that's trying to produce a lot of world-class powerlifters or something like that.
Right.
So
I think this one individual is just very much it's very much about him. I mean, I think it's just his own personality. But I don't see that too much at my gym, but I definitely see that on the internet. You'll see that on Facebook pages. You'll see that on pages of people kind of, bemoaning their fate of, wow, dude, work with what you have. I mean, what can we say? I mean, no one's going to be, like Jordan. No one's going to be able to pull like Baraki. I mean, you can work to that level, but that's who they are. I mean, it's
they were in the front of all the lines for all the things,
right? I mean, you can aspire to lift that kind of weight, and maybe you'll get there, maybe you won't. But I think it's always aspire to just do the best that you can do. Show up, consistently train, put the work in, put the effort in. But no matter what you get out, it's what you put into is what you get out of it. And I can deadlift till the cows come home. I'm not gonna have a deadlift like yours. That's just what it is. Do I ever bemoan my fate?
You don't have as much distance to travel. I mean, I don't have as much distance to travel. I put that effort.
No, I have a lot of distance to travel and everything. So I mean, but I think, for you as a coach and for me as a coach, we've talked about this. Our job as coaches is to make other people stronger and better and to help them find their true potential. So, when people want to hear us bemoaning, like dragging our feet around going, oh God, well, if only I had, man, we wouldn't be good, successful coaches then. It just,
Yeah. So do you find though, I think sometimes people start out maybe in that mindset. Mm-hmm. And the people who are maybe I've worked with people and maybe that's, I'm not in the same gym culture as you've kind of created and maintained at 5x3, but I get people who are concerned about or primarily focused on their outcome. I had somebody starting out with barbell stuff about a year and a half ago who had done a lot of research and was looking and had found one of those things on T Nation, like how strong are you, that sort of thing.
Yes.
And was very concerned that her squat was, according to this T Nation article, was only in the thus and such percentile. And so she was only a little strong instead of moderately strong or very strong or, that kind of thing. So, like you're saying, there's definitely information out there to feed that mindset. You definitely see that different places. I run into that with clients. Mm-hmm. And it's a matter of trying to help them focus on what they are able to do instead of focusing on what someone else is able to do. And focusing on, improvements or small gains or the process or, like you're talking about, having worked with older clients, developing a longer range perspective of what the goal might be. So just sort of helping people with a mindset shift from something that they may have come in with, thinking that they need to achieve a certain level in order to be somehow acceptable, in order to be strong enough, or in order to be considered fit enough, or whatever their criteria is.
Right.
And I actually have somebody right now that does a lot of self-deprecation, like an online client, and pretty much every comment about an exercise or a workout has some reference to amount of body fat, her perceived weakness, not what she has done in the workout or what she's been successful with, but always what she's not done to her own satisfaction. And like part of that, I think too, is it's like if you have somebody who is a former athlete or somebody who had an active life in the past, and they're comparing their current self after several decades of a sedentary job to how they remember their physical fitness in their 20s. That's an adjustment. That's a big adjustment. And that's basically, the struggle that this individual is going through. But it's so painful to listen to, and finding that sort of like, hey, can you tell me something positive about what happened in this workout, without coming across as preachy or Pollyanna-ish or something, because it's a real struggle for this person. And I don't want to diminish it, but I don't want to encourage it. But yeah, this whole is, we didn't do, we're doing this episode backwards, so you didn't do the intro yet. So we just started talking, and I'm getting confused about what the real focus of this.
So the focus, but I think that goes along. It goes along with that. Do you enjoy your workout? But the article was more touching on, wanting to always have more.
Yeah, but
someone's always going to be stronger than you. Someone's always going to be stronger than you. Someone's always going to be thinner than you. Someone's always going to be bigger than you if you want to be bigger. Someone's always going to have better arms than you. I mean, you have to acknowledge that we're all individuals. We're all different people. And some people have more means than others, let's say, to be able to achieve those. Fine. But and sometimes we get caught up in that self-deprecating, and we have to see the bigger picture. And I've spoken about this. I don't know if I've talked about this, in any of our podcasts, but I definitely talked to people about this in regards to Charlotte and when she got sick. And I definitely stepped back and took a big look at my life and what I'm doing. And it was right when the gym opened. so I've had 10 years to think about this. And it was kind of like this feeling of like watching somebody dealing with a disease that she can't control, or she's trying to control, and it's eating away inside of her silently. And yet still managing to, go for runs and, get the kids off to school and hang out with me and come to the gym when she felt good, and acknowledge that she still had this body. And even though she was fighting against her, she was still pushing through, and acknowledging the days where she had to rest and the days that she felt good doing something. And I think that we have to sometimes stop and realize how much we do have, the gifts that we do have, the bodies that we do have, the life that we have. And if we're always striving to have something more, and we're never happy with what we have, there's only so much you can really say to somebody, who's constantly talking down to themselves. That's going to be, it's very hard. And I kind of always just kind of bring up Charlotte. I'll shut somebody up real fast. But it's,
that might be unfair though.
yeah. But I did it to myself. Yeah. I did it to myself. I shut myself up, I shut myself up.
I think there's also like, it doesn't have to be an either or.
Yeah.
Right? It can be both. You can be grateful for what you're able to do. and also want more.
Absolutely.
And as long as those two are in balance,
Yes.
it's not a problem. If
Yes.
you're stuck in the always wanting to be more, do more, have more, then stuff isn't enjoyable, right? So it's this question of, is your workout enjoyable? Do you enjoy it, right? Like, you're going to have off days, but in general, if you're stuck in this place where you're constantly dissatisfied with your body, with your abilities, with the outcome, then you're just going to be generally unhappy and miserable. And that's not a good place to be. And you got to figure out what needs to change. It might be the workout. It's probably got a lot to do with your mindset. It might show up in other areas as well. Yeah, wanting to achieve more, but being grateful for what you're able to achieve, and kind of keeping those two things in check.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was
like, if you sink too far to the other direction, I'm great just the way I am. Right. I'm sitting here eating pizza on the sofa, watching the third movie in a row, and this is cool.
There's a balance in life with everything, right? Yeah. And there's a balance in life with everything, and sometimes we're off balance, and sometimes we need help to get ourselves back on track, and sometimes we can do that for ourselves. And I think as a coach, that is our job is so many. We wear so many hats. We've talked about this. I take off my coach hat. I put on my psychiatrist hat. I take off I take that hat off. I put on my physical therapist hat. I take that off. I put on my daughter's hat, kind of thing. I mean, so we're constantly having to navigate different personalities, different needs, different wants, and try to kind of keep everybody, the same. As in, you know what, you're here. Why are you here? What's your reason for being here? I know why I want you here. I know what my role is as a coach. I know what my role is as a mentor, or as an instructor. You have to meet me there too. And if you're not happy with the program, let's talk about it. I've had many of my clients, I've changed their programs because they're not satisfied. It's not that they're not satisfied with the coaching they're just, something's missing. Right? They're something else is going on in their life, and they need a shorter program, or they need more diversity. They need more variety. They want a little bit more conditioning. They want a little bit, hey, I want to keep you here. I want you to enjoy what you're doing. I want your body to be happy with what it's doing. Mostly, if this is going to help your mindset, let's make some changes. It's never a and or. You're either here doing this or you're not here. It's, that's not how I operate, but you can only make so many changes to a program until you realize, maybe I just need to not do this. I'm not happy with this. And it's not even the program, it's something else going on. Well, I can't help with that. Right. My coaching has to stop somewhere. I'm not licensed to deal with other things.
You're not the life coach?
I'm not the life coach. But I can certainly be as much service to somebody in terms of like keeping them motivated and keeping them on track and keeping them consistent, with something that's going to help them enjoy their training more. It's a subject I think about a lot because it does come up quite often with my clients. They'll come to me and talk about this. It's not something I ever bring up. I have to just figure out how to navigate that without saying, you know what, stop thinking so much and just squat. We can talk about this later.
I told you, Delia got me this sticker, shut up and squat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to.
Sometimes, and it's, or shut up and deadlift, or shut up and go for a walk, or go for a run. If you like running,
There's
go for a run.
To shut up and squat. It's as if she knows me.
Yeah, it's and this time of year, it's dark out, it's cold. Everybody kind of retreats, into themselves and into their heads. It's sometimes can be kind of a bad place to be. I think when the gym is hopping and people are talking and laughing, it feels really good because you could feel it. Everybody wants to be there. Everyone always wants to be there. People who don't want to be there, they don't come. but the people who are there, they want to be there. They're happy to be there. They're excited about what they're doing. And when something needs to be changed, the change is made.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about sort of the difference in what you do versus what I do, because you've created this community, right? Where people who want to be there are there, and the ones who don't want to be aren't there, right? But working independently as a personal trainer or an independent coach who doesn't have a gym, I actually get a fair number of people who are the ones that don't want to be there, right?
Yeah.
They joined a gym, that didn't work for them. They need somebody else who's a little bit more involved. So I feel like what you're describing sounds very nice, but I have a lot. I actually, I have quite a few people. I have several who want to be there and love it. And working one-on-one as opposed to being part of a gym just works out for them because they have the rack in their garage or their basement. They're motivated to do it. And they just want some guidance or some feedback or whatever. And then I also have a number of people who probably wouldn't be there if they hadn't made the appointment.
Right. I mean, I think that, the clients who come to the gym are the ones who want to be around people, right? They want to be involved. Even if they're kind of quiet, they still have that. They still want to be around, in an environment where there are other people doing the same thing that they're doing. And they also want the coaching, right? They're coming for that too. They're coming for the programming. They're coming to make sure that they're staying accountable, but they don't need that one-on-one. They don't need that. They can train in that environment. And then others want the one-on-one because they like the attention. That's the only reason they are coming, because they get that attention from the coach, and that's what motivates them. Whereas for some people, it's the group, and other people are motivated to walk down to their basement and lift without needing somebody to kind of push them along. There are plenty of people who have a rack in their basement and will never touch it, because even when it's there, it's not enough for them. It's still kind of not convenient. Then that's where it's was this the right program for you? Would you be better off in the gym with other people? Or if that were the case and you don't go, then maybe really it's not the right program for you. Maybe there's something else that needs to kind of inspire you and motivate you. And that's okay too. That's okay. I think we always get caught up in this idea of the only way to, but we have to, I'm constantly having to tell people don't have that thinking. That thinking is so, what's the word? Having blinders on, where it's the only way to do something. And if you're not doing that, you might as well just give up. Then then that's going to make you unhappy too. Yeah. That's going to make you unhappy with your workout. So there's a lot to that little article. That wasn't even the whole article, but just little pieces that you could pick out of just kind of constantly wanting to have something more. They talk about a neighbor having one car, or you having one car and your neighbor has two cars. Your neighbor has two cars. So why don't you have two cars? It's that constant feeling of if I have more things, if I have more stuff, if I'm stronger, I'm going to be so much happier in my life. And then you get to that point, you're you're still not happy.
Yeah. And if you're approaching your workout like that and thinking about the weights on the bar or your workouts in that sort of a competitive way, then it's unlikely that you're going to be happy doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's always going to be somebody who's lifting more, lifting better, whatever.
I never had that. I don't have that myself. I don't compare myself to others when it comes to training, when it comes to lifting, because my job is to coach my clients. My job is not to be better than they are, be stronger than them, whatever that is. It's just to make them find get the most potential out of themselves. But before I started this, I would compare myself to other women, body wise. I know this is not really the subject, but it is that kind of feeling of, wanting to be, if I just looked like her, I'd be happy. If I just had her arms, I'd be happy. If I just had her legs, I'd be happy. Luckily, strength training kind of put an end to that. And I've moved past that. But many women have not. Even when they start strength training, they still have this comparison, and that goes along with never being happy with kind of who you are. and what you're capable of doing. And, you know, the changes that you can make, sometimes we need to make them small. We need to make small changes. We can't do it all at once. If we really do want to make a change, then we need to make a change, or we don't need to, but we want to. I mean, that's okay. But it's those two hands, right? Way far apart, and trying to kind of bring them together. And I don't think anybody is like hand to hand. I don't think anybody has their life like completely in balance. I'm not.
Well, you get one piece lined up and something else.
Exactly. It's like that kid in your class who's always mouthing off. You kick him out and someone's out. There's another kid ready to take his place. It never works out. You think if I can just get him out of the class, I'll be happy. And then there's the other kid. You're like, crap. Now I got to deal with this kid. I thought he was the problem. No, it's not. So it's sometimes it can be a kind of a little gerbil or hamster in a wheel, spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning.
It's funny. I mean, I guess like, you're talking before about the idea, like you're looking at what somebody else has or what somebody else can lift or how somebody else looks and thinking, I'd be happy if I was there. Or, that whole grass is always greener on the other side. We think it's better over there. Yeah. Just reminds me of like that Soundgarden outshine. The grass is always greener because that's where the dogs are shitting. So like once you actually get over there, it's not as great as you thought it was.
And you step in it.
Now your sneaker stinks.
You step in it, it's all over your shoes, and then you slip and you fall in it. Yeah, it never works out. I mean, it's you think that like, oh, if I just pick up that weight, my life will change forever if I hit that number. And then you hit that number and you're like, okay, nothing's happened. I'm still the same. I'm still the same person.
Miserable person that I was before.
I told Diego I've been training for the meet on Sunday. Then this podcast is going to come out after the meet, of course. But I'm not going to hit any PRs in training on Sunday, but I'm definitely hitting meet PRs on Sunday. That is my plan. I told him, I was like, it doesn't matter what I've hit more than this in training, but I've never done this in a competition. And that's what's exciting to me is I can say, if I hit those numbers, they will be meet PRs, and one is a weight that I haven't done in 4 years, So, I mean, it's like, there's this kind of feeling of, I mean, I've been training for a long time, but man, my training has been up and down and all over the place. I have a job. My job is not to lift. My job is to coach.
Ironically.
Right? I'm not getting paid to lift. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited that, these meet, it's not a sanctioned meet, but it's still, and for me, a performance in front of people with new weights. And to be able to say, man, I finally hit that in competition. So that's fun. I liked Ryan talking about the competition yesterday with somebody, and he was just so like, it's so casual, it's so relaxed, it's going to be so much fun. There's this feeling of like, everyone's there, everyone wants to do well, but it's an atmosphere again where it's like you're competing for yourself. You have a friend with you. Maybe it's your husband, maybe it's a girlfriend. We got a lot of couples lifting together. There's something that you can do together. Yeah. It's and that makes it even more relaxing. Sure, everybody's going to be like all nervous and the adrenaline's going to be kicking in, but everyone's excited to just do it because there's this element of like, I'm doing with somebody I know. I'm doing with somebody I like. Yeah,
it's that difference of like a shared activity, competing with the people in the room as opposed to competing against the people in the room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
God damn it, I'm coming in second. Martha and Ralph are going to kill us, but I'm like helping Jen and I can pull through and win second place in the Masters.
Wait, what?
So there are 4 Masters groups.
Oh,
There's Martha and Ralph, 71 and 76. They're going to destroy us. Then there's Jen and I. We're both in our 40s. Then there's Susan and her client. Now they're older than we are, so they're probably going to get their score is going to go up. Then there are 2 guys, and they're in their 40s. So we're all like relatively around the same age. But it's Susan and Brenda that I'm fighting for because it's a female. Doesn't matter because we're all going to get killed by Ralph and Martha.
Okay, that's funny.
Because they're pretty
Yeah,
much,
I guess like Sadie and Adam are going to be open because they're.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're babies. They're babies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Sadie the youngest one?
Sadie is the youngest, and
Yeah.
Ralph is the oldest. He's 76. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to get a picture of the two of them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, I don't know where Ralph fits in this, but I'm gonna venture to guess that Sadie is also the smallest.
Yes, she'll be the shortest.
The shortest, and she's like 100 pounds sopping wet.
She is she's benching too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's benching. Ryan's benching. I liked it the year that she pressed and Ryan pressed because
Oh my gosh, yeah.
the
And then
rack
it was
was like
the rack as tall as it would go to as short as it would go.
Sadie could walk under the rack. And then we had to lower it all the way down to her, and then we had to raise it all the way up for him. So he's not pressing this year, which is good. So that's and she's not either. So
Yeah.
Well,
it'll be the same thing too, I guess, with her squat, right?
Yeah. Yes.
It'll be the lowest possible setting with her squat.
Yes.
And
So she's the shortest one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she'll be the shortest one lifting. Yes, and she'll look quite good in her sweatshirt, which is still sitting on my shelf, folded.
She keeps reminding me.
Yep, you ordered it last year.
It's all the same day, Emily.
So we've totally gotten off the topic now, and we're just talking about sweatshirts and meat. So I think that we've kind of wrapped up what we need to talk about today. Today was more of a philosophizing. We were just kind of, talking about lifting and talking about our feelings.
Blathering on.
So this is what happens at the end of the year when we have no other topics to talk about. Nothing really productive except for the mindset of a lifter. That's a good. Maybe I should have that as the topic. Mindset of a lifter. We got quite a few downloads from the last episode.
Well,
So-
I think the thing was, it was like we were talking about like the scarcity mindset, right?
Yeah.
Like if there's, like you're not enough, you're not going to be able to
Right.
lift enough, you're not going to be
Right.
able to do enough, you're not enough, and like you're comparing yourself to other people and always
So-
coming short.
Yeah.
Like, that is an unhealthy place to be.
Yes. So if you're one of those people, those listeners, as Diego says, the 5 listeners, more than 5. If you find yourself kind of one of those and thinking to yourself, is she talking about me? You take a look. I mean, we've all been there. We've all done that. We've all compared ourselves to other people, but how much less frustrating will it be if you kind of really work on that and focus on your training and think about why you're doing it? What is your purpose? What is the reason for your training? If it is to be better than somebody else, you might want to rethink that. Maybe it's fine to compete with other people. It's fine to have a competition kind of, personality, but if it's going to be one that makes your sessions so unbearable and so frustrating all the time.
Like if it's the kind of like you get caught up in your own ego all the time, and you can't get out of your ego to see what else is going on, or see,
it'd be a little bit more, it would be a little healthier, and you probably would make even more progress that way.
Maybe.
Probably, just step aside. Excellent. Well, I know that this will come out after the podcast. We talked about warm-ups and waiting, what to do in between your sets. I'm still knitting, by the way. Still knitting. Working on 2 projects now. Got lots of projects at home. I went to Joann's and bought quite a bit of yarn on Black Friday weekend.
Oh my gosh. Okay, wait. Just speaking of yarn projects, have you seen some of the things that Craig Campbell has been crocheting? Amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. One of our friends who's coaching with us back in the day, an incredible photographer and coach, has been crocheting, and they've been some awesome looking pieces. See, there's that. I go, oh great, he's been crocheting for like how long? And all I can do is make a freaking blanket. I made a hat and it turned into a shower cap. Diego was laughing at me. I'm taking it apart. So, but hey, I'm not going to judge. I'm doing fine. He's a little better at it than I am. See, there you go. It's one of those things. It's like, oh, Craig, how can you be crocheting better than I am? Stop it, Emily. Stop it.
It's interesting too, though. Like, I mean, whatever, kind of just circling back yet again to the topic, but like, I listened to Felicia a lot of times talk about like her soccer team.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was also listening to this interview today with Abby Wambach. And it's like, it's interesting the way very competitive people can root very strongly for other people's success when they view them as part of the same team. You know, and so it's a matter of who do you see as being part of your tribe or your team, and are you rooting for them and uplifting them, or is it somebody that you're always trying to like one up, right? And so that's on her soccer team. And you know, and it was a very interesting interview with Abby Wambach too, talking about that like at a really top level. And then, you know, by contrast, the twins will talk about a friend of theirs that, you know, they consider to be a friend, but who is like hyper competitive about grades, to the point where it's like, you know, sometimes you wonder how people maintain their friendships when there are individuals who are so competitive, clearly like not seeing the friend, or the friend clearly not seeing my twins as part of like their team or tribe, or somebody that they want to see succeed as well, because they see it as, you know, like if they succeed, that takes something away from my worth, as opposed to there's a lot of room for people to pull up a chair at the table.
And that, you know, we're not psychiatrists or psychologists or, you know, social workers but that goes into something deeper. That definitely goes into something deeper. Like, that's not just competitiveness on a competitive scale because, you know, they enjoy competition. That's like a self-worth thing. There's something much, much deeper there going on. But this is not the podcast for that. This is a strength training podcast. So we have to focus on.
I mean, I think there was a bit of that though anyway, though, in the article that you
absolutely,
that, like the alluding to people who have that mindset in general. And it's like, you see that often, you see that plenty. I don't think you see that at 5x3. And I think when people start training with you or with me, we sort of try and help them refocus a mindset like that, if that's what they show up with.
And sometimes I can get through and then sometimes I can't. But there are very few people. There are very few people like that. I think we have, you know, it's just because of the people who join us and the atmosphere that we, you know, that we've created too. All right. Thanks everyone for joining us today for our topic on the mindset of lifting. I don't know, maybe I've had that topic title before. I have to check and see what I've done.
And it's pretty broad in general.
As always, you know, the holidays are coming up, I know, so we're probably going to take a couple weeks off. I'd say this podcast will come out in about 3 weeks, and then I'm going to ask Rebecca, let's take some time off and regroup in January. So we'll kind of skip Christmas, skip New Year's, kind of take a couple weeks off, and then start back fresh in January, and we can get some ideas going too. And of course, if you have any ideas or thoughts or comments about anything that we've talked about in the past few months, please reach out to us. You can always email me at emily@5by3.com. You can also reach out to Rebecca at
cornerstonestrengthmaryland@gmail.com.
So we'd always like to, at
gmail.com.
At gmail.com.
Or just the website.com.
Or her website. So reach out to both of us. We'd love to hear from you. And I think that this will probably be the last podcast of 2021. So we'll probably pick back up in 2022.
That's so funny, because I'm still thinking it's 2020, and I literally just heard you say 2020, and I had to think about it, and I was like, oh no, she did say
2021. 2021. So have a wonderful, wonderful holiday. Have a great Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Or Hanukkah's already passed. It's this week. We are recording this.
It will be passed.
It will be passed.
You're in the middle of it now.
Have a great Christmas. Have a great New Year's, and we will see you all in 2022.
In dry January.
Dry January, and we'll be in masks until 2025, but that's okay. We've gotten used to it. I don't know if once we are out of it, I'll kind of be looking around like trying to pull something up, and I'll probably scratch my face.
I'm going to realize that all of these unrestrained habits of like making snarky faces at people while they're talking to me will be revealed when I have to take a mask off.
Right? And just so those of you who have are just tuning in and finding us, we started this podcast during 2020, in May of 2020, when we were still closed, when the gym was still closed and people were in lockdown. So we've been doing this. It'll be 2 years this coming May that we started this.
That seems like a very long time.
Yeah,
That was a very long year.
so we need to get some ideas going for January for 2022 and see what's in store for everybody and for us. All right, thanks, Rebecca. Thanks, everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Have a great holiday.
See you.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to 5x3 Radio with Emily and Rebecca. If you like our show and want to know more about 5x3 training, please visit us at www.5, that's F-I-V-E, the letter X, the number 3.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. To learn more about Rebecca, please visit her website, cornerstonestrengthmaryland.com. Thanks for listening and have a great week.